Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shah, Bahashum Rukakudash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rokoyer from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. And tonight, just want to come with this quick impromptu, exhortation, for you elect Akim and Akwaf out there to leave, from our perspective, trials, tribulations, obstacles, with more hope than you came into it with. The whole goal, of the trials that the Lord puts us through is for us to be builded. The Lord tears us down, in certain aspects in order to build us up stronger in certain areas. It's just like the muscle in our bodies. When you're trying to build muscle, you go to the gym, you lift weights, you do push-ups to break down the muscle so that it builds back up stronger. And that's what the Lord is doing to us, for us spiritually. All right, the Lord breaks us down in certain areas where we're weak to build us stronger, to build us up stronger in that area. In every aspect of our life, whatever situation that we face, we should be going into it with hope and coming out of it with more hope than we came into it with. I spoke about, this last camp when I was with brothers in Orlando last week. And each time we touch the battlefield, we leave with more hope than we came in there with. Every time we congregate amongst brothers, we leave with more hope than we came in with. And that's what the body was designed to do. That's what the ministry was designed to do. It was designed to build us. It was designed to forge us into vessels meet for the master's use. Meet for the master's use. All right, and that's coming through our day-to-day lives, man. The Lord truly is beautiful, in the way that he designed each and every one of our lives and every trial that we go through. It's all in order. It's all for our good, like it says in Romans the 8th chapter. Also Hebrews the 12th chapter. Excuse me. But I just want to come with this quick exhortation. Leave with more hope than you came in with. Right now as we speak, there's another trial, another obstacle the Lord is engineering for you, for us, for me, speaking for myself first and foremost. All right. And as we enter into that trial, we enter into that obstacle, we have to enter into it with hope, with a victory mentality, especially coming into the time of Jacob's trouble. All right, the trial of our faith. We see that the mark of the beast is getting closer. And with that being said, World War III is getting closer. All right, famine, both of the word and of food, pestilence, evils. All of these things are approaching us speedily. And each and every one of us is going to have to go through our prospective trial in that moment. And these little moments leading up into that, to the game time, are needful for us. And in these little moments, these little battles, that don't seem little to us, but in the eyes of the Lord, they small. But these battles that we go through are designed for us to go into it with hope and come out of it with even more hope than we came in with, and that's capable by us staying plugged in. We're able to do that by plugging in, staying connected to the source, man, which is doing our due diligence, staying on top of our reading, staying on top of our studying, listening to videos, making our videos, going out to the highways and byways, all right, being amongst brothers, being a productive member of the body. These are all ways that we increase, in hope. We increase in an abundance of faith and spirit that the Lord has given us. We're in that time of abundance, bros. For real. We're in the time of abundance. The Lord is starting to increase us in knowledge and wisdom and understanding and application. It's very beautiful. The opportunity that we've been given, because we don't deserve it. We don't deserve this opportunity, but we've been given the opportunity. Therefore, we're going to utilize it to the best of our ability. We're going to utilize this chance at life. We've been given a shot at life, and we're going to use it. And we're going to live for Yahushua, man. And that means carrying our cross, carrying our burden and coming and increasing in hope and abounding in the spirit. Every single day, like the Elder Yashawamba says, man, we should be dwelling more and more in the spirit. We should be living in the spirit, really, which is easier said than done, but it becomes easier as we, put forth the effort. As we put forth the effort, we become more and more resilient, spiritually, to where old trials really don't affect us as much as they did when we first started. And that's us leaving with more hope. But with that being said, man, that's all I had. Lord, when it's edifying unto you elect, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahushua, Bahashum, Rukakwadash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. And before I close out as well, I want to, make mention that the Lord is getting ready to increase, brothers, man. In whatever aspect that may be in, whether it be in wisdom, whether it be in knowledge, understanding, faith, certain aspects of your life, finances, whatever the case may be, there's going to be an increase on this side. And brothers have to be ready, speaking for myself first and foremost, to live for Yahushua, dying for Yahushua, dying in the faith, it's thinking, constantly dwelling on perishing is the easy route out. It's more needful for us to be here in the flesh. There's he-goats that are in need and demand. He-goats are in demand, especially here in these latter days. That's why the Lord is raising up leaders to lead his flock here in these latter days, man. The rest of the believers. This is bigger than just us. We're going to have to live for Yahushua. That's the true trial that's ahead of us. Living for Yahushua, man. Just like the apostles before us. The Apostle Paul, he finished his course. He lived for Yahushua. The Apostle Paul, the Apostle John, Peter, all of these men that we read about, they lived for Yahushua. Even through death, their life was a testament, of their fervency for the Lord, man. But with that being said, Lord, when it's edifying, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahushua, Bahashum, Rukakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.